our guest speaker is Tony Rockliff. Tony is a very good friend of this group. He's been presenting for, or has been down for a number of times. He always has excellent information. You know, Tony over-delivers. And he has a topic of sales, and he is going to give us a choice of one or two subtopics within that. So without further ado, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
He's back.
And thanks for coming. So, in terms of what Andre just said, I'm going to start with something kind of unusual, because when I got asked to put together this seminar, some of us deal mostly with sales, you know, one-on-one with real people in front of us. Some of us deal with online sales where we're trying to get people, once they come to our website, we want them to convert to sales, right? Convert to income. Some of us do both. And so what happened is I started putting the seminar together, and it kind of grew and grew and grew. And by the time it was done, it was really two seminars, one on offline, one-on-one personal sales, and one on online converting to sales on your website. So I asked Andre, well, what if I gave it in two parts? And he very graciously said, yes, I could do that. So I'm actually going to let you guys decide by show of hands which part you want to have first. So it's either online sales, which is how to get people to convert to sales once you've gotten to your website. So who would be interested in having that one today? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 23. Okay, and how many would like the offline sales today? Okay, so it looks like the online sales win for today, but for the offline sales, that will be the next one. And the reason they're separate is because the techniques involved are completely different, really, really different. So let me pull up the other one. So just a quick background about me. I know you're supposed to ideally only do one thing, but I can't help it. I have two completely different lives, and they run parallel, and sometimes they overlap. In one of them, I'm a music producer. Half my house is a studio, so I record albums and audio books and just all sorts of stuff. I've been doing that since 1968, and I just love doing that. And in the other life, I've been making money on the internet since 1995. So I got really excited by it. I was very lucky by what happened for me in the internet in the late 90s, early 2000s area. And just, you know, completely fell in love with what's available and what you can do on the internet. And I learned a lot. I had a huge membership site before I sold it. I learned a lot of different things, from SEO to building sites, then WordPress, membership sites, all the different things that I now teach on. And so I guess that's a kind of quick background. So on to the seminar. So as you know, it's relatively easy to build a good-looking website, right? Now, how many people have had you've built a great site, and you've even done SEO and other techniques, social media and the like, to drive people to the site, but then the conversions haven't been what you hoped? Okay, it's a very common thing, and we're going to cover today a number of techniques that can help with that. As you know, there are many ways to get traffic to the site. But what if they come to the site and don't buy anything, which all too often happens? So some of the reasons that people buy are to save time or effort, something that offers convenience or a faster way to do something, to make money, to feel better about themselves mentally, physically, or spiritually. Oh yeah, people buy what is recommended by others, ever more so these days, in the days of social media. To save or not lose money, to avoid trouble, to reduce pain or frustration, to get more comfort, to increase enjoyment or pleasure, to take advantage of opportunities. And these are just a few. If you go on the web and look up reasons people buy, you'll find about 40 or 50 different things. Most of them come under the categories of either avoiding pain or gaining pleasure in some way. And as we all know, people prefer to buy from people they know, like, and trust. People believe recommendations from friends far more than they believe advertising messages. In fact, I think the ratio is something like 75% to 14%, something like that. And there are two basic reasons that people buy: the rational reason and the real reason. And the real reason, as I'm sure you know, is an emotional reason. And then they give the rational reason to make it okay. But it's really, they buy for emotional reasons primarily. So there's been a change, as you've probably seen, these days, since television and internet browsing. People have shorter attention spans, and they tend not to read pages the way they used to in great detail and depth, but to kind of scan pretty quickly to try and get what they can or what they want out of them. So very often, web design is designed for, they want the person to start reading here, then go here, then go here, and then go in a certain direction. But people rarely do that. They kind of look around feverishly for anything that's interesting or vaguely resembles what they're looking for, is clickable, and as soon as they find a halfway decent match, they click. If it doesn't pan out, they click the back button and try again. So people's attention is very scattered. And this is especially true with those, those interminably long sales pages that you see. What does everybody do? Scroll down to the bottom to find out how much is this. Right, absolutely. So in terms of some of what's working these days, less ad copy and more images increases conversions. Even things like having button links. Short cheat sheets and checklists are outselling free giveaway books because they're faster to scan. Like top 10 reasons for, or top 10 list of this, of that. PowerPoint presentations, I found this interesting. Videos where you have PowerPoint and a voiceover to the PowerPoint are converting better than live videos, which is great because they're much easier to make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you don't have to have your face.
I know, he's videoing me and I'm kicking and screaming about it. Okay. So, other changes in sales. In today's world of tougher, business-savvy buyers, the traditional, quote, feature, advantage, benefit system of selling model doesn't work online in the same way. What works today is consultative selling, asking enough questions until you fully understand the potential buyer's needs. And this, as you'll see if you come to the other seminar, is covered a lot in terms of exactly what kinds of questions to ask to really build a rapport with the person you're trying to sell to. How can you reach people to ask them questions if you're dealing online? So that's what we're going to take a look at now. And prior to going into any area, market research is vital, because you've probably seen, or maybe even been involved in, enterprises where you didn't do market research. You had this wonderful idea, and then you went out and found that nobody wanted it, and you wasted all that time and money. So market research is really crucial. And yeah, that's what this guy says. So if you fully research your market for your intended product before writing a line of copy, you can be a great deal more successful. And what could happen if you didn't?
Time and money.
Writing to that audience.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right. Okay. But if you do research for what are called hot buttons, instead of guessing and hoping, and hot buttons, as we'll get into, they're those things that people respond to. In other words, they read it and they go, "Oh, that's me," or "Ooh, I want that." "Ooh, he's talking to me." So you're looking for these hot emotional buttons. I mentioned before, emotions being the thing that's important. So yeah, a hot button is something that elicits a strong emotional response or reaction. A hot button is a cue that triggers an emotion in a prospective buyer that causes that person to want to buy that product. Oh yeah, Rocky Marciano said, hit the heart and the head will follow. Same principle. Buy for emotional reasons and then rationalize it. So the key to building relationships online is to know your customers' hot buttons. Hot button marketing, push the emotional buttons that get people to buy. And this is actually from an excellent book that's available on Amazon called Hot Button Marketing, Push the Emotional Buttons That Get People to Buy. But it's a really great book. It's spot on. So pushing hot buttons is how you get the buyer to say yes and reach for the credit card or check. Have you ever experienced that yourself? You've seen something that's just been so right where you were at that moment, and so compelling that you just went for. Okay, so again from Barry's book, he says a hot button is an emotional pull, or even a statement that makes the earth move for someone. A hot button is a turn on for the consumer. It's how you talk about your product and speak directly to a consumer's needs in terms of his or her personal buying motivations. There are people who say that marketing, selling, and advertising are about how we change what others think, believe, feel, and do. But it's much more effective to work within a consumer's mindset rather than trying to change it. So the most powerful way to get people to trust you, whether on the phone, in writing, or in person, is to use their language. You know, when you go to a website and it's obviously written for someone that's not you, you don't have a lot of affinity for it, right? And if you use words that they'd never use, it creates a disconnect. So very often, you know, when writing copy, sometimes people write copy from their own viewpoint. And if they're a medical doctor, their own viewpoint could be very technical. And then somebody who has a patient viewpoint reads it, and it's a complete disconnect. So you've really always got to look at the viewpoint of the person reading what you're writing. Who are they? What do they feel? And we're going to look at how to find that out. Yeah, it creates a disconnect. Your customers will feel unfamiliar with you and your service. But if you find out exactly what they want in their own words, which what they're going to give you, as I'll show you, and then you feed back to them their own words, you get an instant connect. Because you're saying something they already know and agree with. Does it make sense?
It makes sense, but where do you get the words?
See us as a sale.
Oh.
I'm going to cut that in a second.
It's kind of like the Discover Card commercial on television now, where the guy online on the telephone is talking exactly like the person calling. It's like, is that kind of what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah, very much so. Talking of commercials, have you guys seen that commercial that's kind of going viral at the moment, where it's the Holy Exorcist? It's wild because it's filmed brilliantly. I mean, really high quality, just like, you know, a professional Hollywood movie. And there's a priest, and there's a real concerned parents, and they're all terrified. And there's this ominous music, and for about 30 seconds, you're kind of watching them, wondering what the hell is this commercial about? And the priest goes up the stairs, and he gingerly opens the door, and he looks up, and there's this woman on the ceiling.
Oh.
You've seen it? Yeah. And he looks up, and suddenly she goes, whoom, and then back and forth across the ceiling, like this, you know, like they do in those Exorcist kind of movies. And you're still kind of wondering, what the hell is this commercial for? Is it for, you know, inexpensive exorcisms? What?
Discount.
Right. And then the camera pans up to the floor above, so you can see the floor above, the floor, and the woman's body. And on the floor above is a person, a vacuum cleaner. Every time she brings a dirt devil back to the woman's body. Here's your question. How do you get their hot buttons, their language, and their words? So, how you do it is with a technique that we actually pioneered about a year ago, and we're just amazed by the results, which is called social media market research. And in the old days, when we used to do market research, we used to have to phone people up and ask them lots of questions, or meet with them and survey them, But now people are talking on the internet, you know, of their own volition. And they're not answering questions whereby their answers could be skewed in terms of what they think you're looking to or want them to answer. They're just saying what they feel. They're saying their pain points. And thanks to the internet, we have access to what they're saying on any specific subject. So, step one is the old standby, keyword research. If you have a specific area or niche, and you find the keywords for that area or niche, then you've got a starting point to find out what people are saying on the internet, what they're originating themselves around your keywords. You follow the concept? We're going to go into a little bit more detail, but okay. So you're going to use the top keywords one at a time for your market or your product to find out what people are saying and how they're saying it, exact words they're using, to collect your hot buttons. And as always, find out what people are actually searching for, not what you think they're searching for. So I'm sure many of you here know how to do basic keyword research. If you don't, I know we have seminars here that teach that, and I teach it and do it. So as always with keyword research, you're not looking just for lots of traffic on a keyword, because that's a big mistake so many people make. You're looking for how little competition does that keyword have, and how weak is the strength of that competition. Because you can have, you know, a keyword that has an incredible amount of traffic, like credit cards, but they've got billions of competing sites, and many of them really strong. So your chances of being on page one for those is slim, unless you do a lot of work. But if you find that people are actually searching for credit cards with a fixed APR for one-legged farmers in Iowa, it's more specific, right? It's more specific and also closer to buying. And if there are enough people searching for it, you can be on page one. If the competition is low and the strength of the competition is low, you can be on page one for that keyword very quickly. So there's lots of tools you can use, like Market Samurai, Traffic Travis, or the free Google keyword tool. Yeah, don't get caught by broad and competition. Okay, there's lots of tools out there for doing keyword research that cost money. And I have a bunch of them, and I use a bunch of them. And I also use some of the free tools. And there are two free tools where you get pretty much everything you need. And one, as you probably know, is the Google keyword tool, where you just type into Google AdWords or Google keywords, and up comes this tool. But I just want to let you know there's a couple of mistakes people tend to make when looking at keywords. They type in some search term that they are starting like as a broad top-level search, that they're an area, you know, a niche, and they're looking for what people are actually searching for with regard to that word. And so like 800 of these terms come up, and they say 20,000 searches per month. Wow, that's great, I'll use that. But they don't realize that there could be 2 million or 2 billion competing sites against that keyword. But then there's a column in the research tool that says competition. And they look in that column and it says low, and they go, great. But what they don't realize is that column is so misleading. It has nothing to do with the kind of competition we're interested in. It has to do with how many people, what the competition is like for people buying pay-per-click ads, which is completely different. So you can't pay any attention to that column particularly. And then the other thing is the Google keyword tool defaults to what's called a broad search, which means, let's say, I don't know, medical diagnosis. Let's say you had a site that had to do with medical diagnostics. And so you put in medical diagnosis, and the broad search comes up, and there's millions or thousands, hundreds of thousands of searches for it. But a broad search means that those two words appear somewhere in what people are searching for. They might not be together as a phrase. It might be, tell me something about a medical story that involves the diagnostics of a cat, or something that has nothing to do with what you're looking for. So you have to switch off that broad and switch the buttons and say phrase, where it's an exact phrase, or exact, where it's just a phrase by itself. I didn't actually mean to go into that, but I suddenly realized that it's kind of...
What's your second tool that you said you use for free?
Traffic Travis is free, and that one tells you the strength of the competition, which is really, for me, the most important thing. I don't care if there's a million sites competing for my keyword. if 99% of them are competing badly.
I know you said you didn't mean to go into that, but do you have a formula for number of searches per available web pages?
Yeah, but it really depends on the niche. I mean, it's very different. I like to, when I first started doing keyword research, I used to like to have, like under 50,000 competition.
Right.
And then I got a little bit more daring and I went to 100,000. Then I started getting good at it and I was starting to go, well, a million, I can handle that. And now, I mean, I've got a client, Art Garfunkel's Guitarist, where we're on page 1 and the next 8 pages against 2 billion competing. Because it's the strength of the competition, not the number of the competition that matters.
Can you search geographically?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you used not to be able to, now you can.
Hey Tony, one more thing on that. You were talking about the broad keyword tool and not get caught in that. I just have to give some advice because I did get caught in that recently. Because you said that if you type a keyword, those words don't have to appear in that specific order. They just have to appear in the search, right?
On the broad setting,
On the
that
broad.
it defaults to, yeah.
Now is, the way I found it, those words don't even have to appear at all. It could be a similar word. An example, I typed how to podcast as my keyword tool because I wanted to sell how to podcast videos. And it came up 5 million people were searching for how to podcast. But it wasn't really true. They were just searching for the word podcast. How and to didn't even have to appear at all, but they were counting it as it was appearing. So
yeah,
it's completely misleading and
absolutely.
you gotta be
That's
careful.
why you got to turn broad completely off.
Completely off, yeah.
Phrase and things.
Yeah.
So like I say, the very first step, as it is with pretty much any kind of internet marketing, is to get your correct keywords. And if anybody here is interested in having, I don't know, you had one recently, didn't you?
What?
You had a seminar here recently on SEO, didn't you?
On,
SEO?
yeah,
Okay, good.
we did, but,
You never have enough.
No.
you know, I was just thinking it'd be great to have a seminar on market research.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And I have I've spoken at the Google Summit recently, and the seminar that I do now on keyword research is how to survive Google's Panda and Penguin updates. Because last year, Google made 65 updates, and 5 of them were major, whereas they made one major one every 5 years previously. So they turned the whole world of SEO upside down. So those of us involved in that field really had to knock
That was
down.
because a lot of people were copying and pasting descriptions from other sites. When you add content on your website, you never ever want to copy any kind of string of text. You want to write it out yourself and make sure it doesn't match other websites.
Absolutely. So the seminar that I've got that maybe we'll do here covers the changes that occurred and what to do about them. Okay, so step 2. Now step 2, there's a lot of things you can do having got your basic keywords. And you don't have to do them all, you just have to do enough to get a feel for what your audience is looking for. You can go to Amazon.com, enter your keyword in the search box, and find the books and products on your subject that are the best sellers and have the most comments and reviews. And as you start reading through those reviews, you'll see people saying their pain points, the things that really frustrate them or upset them. And you're looking for things that come up over and over, because those are the hot buttons. Yeah, look for the words or phrases that come up over and over again. The words or concepts are the main points of concern or frustration, also stated reasons why they bought the book. So you see, they're actually just telling you themselves, which is great. Google Alerts. You can set up Google Alerts on your keywords to send you what people are saying about the subject. And again, you're looking for the points of pain, the points of frustration. You can set up Google Reader, which is free, and use blog search sites to find the blogs that relate to your product and join their RSS feeds. And again, whatever you're doing here, you're always looking for the things that come up over and over again. And I'll give you a live example. I was doing a project for a holistic veterinarian. And so we got our keywords, and then we started putting them into these tools and a few more that I'm going to show you. And over and over, the same thing started coming up that people were frustrated about, that the vet had no idea about, and we had no idea about. And when we finished and tabulated everything, it was amazing because we had hot buttons that were true for 70% of the people. that we've gotten information for in their marketing. That's huge. You're basically finding blogs that relate to your subject matter, and then you're joining their RSS feeds, which then get sent to your Google Reader. Social media conversations, because you, like I say, you want to know what people are saying and what they're saying without any, without you having to go there and ask them. You know, so just saying it because it's what they feel, which is much more real. So these are some of the Twitter tools for research. You usually make the slides available, don't you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have to write all these things down. And also, I've got a list of, I think, about 30 websites where there's a lot more expanded information on this I can give you that.
Yeah.
And these are tools where you basically say, okay, search Twitter for whatever your keyword is. And then you get all this stuff where people are talking about your keyword. And you see what they're saying, and again, you're looking for the things they're saying over and over. And, you know, stated problems and solutions and benefits if you're doing a positive campaign. Obviously, ignore the promotional tweets. Yeah, those four are primarily for Twitter. Some other tools, Google Blog Search, blogsearch.com, blogsearchengine.com, Technorati, Blog Pulse, and other blog search engines. And again, you scan, you just do find, you know, at the top, put in the keyword, and then scan through the page and see what people are saying about the keyword. Yahoo Answers and Amazon Answers is great as well, because people are usually asking specific problems or specific concerns that they have. Yahoo Groups, Google Groups. Like I say, you don't have to use all these things. Sometimes just doing one of them thoroughly produces enough information. First one we did, we used maybe 6 of the tools, and we got such amazing information that we were actually quite stunned. Some other tools for research, and these are places that you go and they actually, you can put in a keyword and they'll tell you what people are saying about the keyword. And there's a whole bunch of them. So bear in mind, whatever you say on the internet now is available to people like us who go searching for it.
Now, does that search like Google's emails too, or individual private emails?
Emails, no.
Okay.
No. This is, that costs extra. Yeah, and again, you want to avoid the ads. You're just looking for what people are saying that they're really concerned about. YouTube is another one. Again, you search by your keywords and you look at the titles of the most relevant, most viewed videos, and you'll find more hot buttons coming out of that. Yeah, another thing in market research, a standard thing, is to look at the competition and to look at what they're doing that's successful and how you can do it better. You can look at their keywords as well. Quick way to look at their keywords for anyone who doesn't know is just to right-click on the web page and choose View Source, and then put Find Meta, and you'll see all their keywords. And obviously the ones you want to look at are the ones that are on page 1, rather than the ones that are on page 12.
The search engines no longer take meta keywords as a serious signal. They still consider it, but it's no longer relevant because people have been spamming keywords.
Yeah.
But it will give you insight into what the people running that site are targeting.
Absolutely. And the actual data behind that is in the late 90s, Google stopped paying any attention to the meta tag keywords. Bing and Yahoo still do to a degree. One thing where Google does pay some attention is they'll check the keywords that you put in there and see if they match the content. And there's since Panda and Penguin, there are a whole bunch of new rules on how you put your keywords in your content and how you don't. But if, for instance, you have keywords here and they don't appear anywhere on the page, you get penalized. And the other thing is they don't want loads of keywords. They don't want keyword stuffing.
Generally, you want to stick to 7 keywords or less, and it helps if they also match. Google does use the meta description, meta element, so that if you don't best way to look at it is to count the maximum number of letters in any meta description or description on Google results, and make sure you're also not doing too few words, because if Google may opt to use either page content or a meta description on the page, depending on the length.
Absolutely. The other thing is that since Panda and Penguin, synonyms is what Google prefers.
Going back to doing your research on Amazon.com,
Yeah.
you just do a search for your keywords, but then all the books come. Where are you looking to
You're looking
find the
at, you're
hot
looking
buttons?
at books that are solving the problems that people are
Oh,
discussing
okay,
around
you're
the
looking at
keywords. And then you're looking through the comments
Okay.
and the, what people are saying. And you're looking for those phrases like coming up again and again.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, you can use surveys like SurveyMonkey or Zoomerang. You can ask a few key questions designed to find out what's really important to them, what's really bothering them, what needs they have that are not being met, the benefits to them of solving these needs. These tools are the way to get what used to cost tens of thousands of dollars in market research for a lot less. And it looks like a lot of work, right? But of course, how many here use outsourcers? Outsourcers.
Yeah.
All the Philippines,
Yeah.
my favorite. Good, yeah. Have you ever done presentations here on outsourcing?
Yes.
A while back.
Good, yeah. Because outsourcing.
What is one called Philippines?
More is right.
My favorite one is onlinejobs.ph, which is where Filipinos hang out. I've had zero success with Elance, some success with Odesk, but my favorite by far is onlinejobs.ph. And there you get people to do this survey for you, for $1 an hour. And so you can be doing all sorts of other things while having all this work done for you for very little money. Okay, so let's say you've gotten your, how are we doing on time?
You're good.
Are you good?
Oh, cool. So let's say you've gotten your keywords, and then you've done your market research, and you've got your nice hot buttons, and now you want to write some copy. So we're going to go into some copywriting stuff that has proven to work. So one thing is you found the desperate problem, right, with your market research. You found what people are really concerned about. And people buy most often when they need to solve a desperate problem. So you have to look at what is the desperate problem that your product or service solves, and how it relates to the hot buttons that you've gathered. And basically, the copy needs to name the pain, agitate it, and then direct them to solution, using your hot buttons, of course, to grab their attention. And when I say agitated, it's an old copywriting technique, but it works. You basically write the copy so that they look at it and realize, oh yeah, this is not good, I need to solve this. And then you hit them with a solution. You want them saying, wow, that's me, or yes, that's exactly what I need. Which if you've got the right hot buttons, they will. Another thing that's been proven to be really workable is to have a unique promise. Now, I want to go back before I finish what I just covered. In terms of the hot button, with your hottest button, you should use that in your headline, because that's the thing that's going to hit them first. And if you craft your headline strongly enough in their own words, it's a no-brainer. And you've got seconds to grab their attention. So what is it about your service or your product that is unique in how it solves their problem? These are just things you have to ask yourself and write down and be ready before you're writing copy. Yeah, this is something that I kind of go back and forth on, but a lot of successful copywriters insist is important. They basically say, if you make a unique promise about your product or service, and it's almost unbelievable, so they say, how could they possibly do that? They'll read on more because of the curiosity factor, but obviously you can't say something that's untrue. It's got to be something that, while being pretty wild, is really true. Another thing is, these days, social proof needs to be a lot earlier. And this doesn't just apply to sales pages. It's like, you know the concept that people pay much more attention to what others say about you than what you say about you, right? And yet you go to so many web pages, and the first page is just a lot of stuff of the person or the business saying stuff about themselves, right? It's far, far more effective for the first thing to be testimonials. Because it's actually been proven there are 3 places people go to when they first come to a site. Oh, actually 2 places apart from the home page. One is testimonials. They go to the testimonials tab. So don't give them that delay. Put the testimonials right there so they see what others are saying about you right up front. And the other place is about me, you know, the about page. So in your copy, credible social proof needs to be earlier these days because that's what people are looking for. A book, if you've written a book, and these days it's very easy to do, as you know, with Kindle and other things, it's great credibility. If you have reviews, use the logos of the media where you had the reviews, because again, it's more credible social proof. Oh, and of course, the irresistible offer.
Oh.
And the irresistible offer could be in the terms. I mean, I had a client whose site was doing pretty well, and then she just added free shipping, and her sales skyrocketed just by one little thing that made it to them irresistible. What may be irresistible to your public will be whatever it is. And if you've surveyed properly, you'll know what it is.
Can I ask you a question? You mentioned something about the about page. I have something called an intro page. Do I need to change that to about?
Intro means something slightly different, and people tend to be used to the term about, so they know what they're looking for when they know what they're going to get when they go to the about page. Yeah.
Okay, can I go back to this unique promise? Uniqueness is becoming much more difficult.
Sure.
So there is such a thing as bundling. I'm not the only person who can do this. I'm not the only person who can do that. And I'm certainly not the only person who can do that. But I'm the only person who can do all 3.
Absolutely.
So bundle is bundling.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's totally valid. Yeah.
Was that bungle?
That's a different seminar.
2 nations separated by a common language.
So yeah, it could be a shipping offer, it could be whatever it could be, bonuses of course. But the thing is that bonuses only work when they're already interested enough to buy. And and again, by survey you will know what's a valid bonus. You might think it's a great thing that you're offering as a bonus, but they couldn't care less. So again, surveys come into it. You know, ask your customers. You can send out an email survey asking them what would they really like as a bonus, or which of your previous bonuses did they really like, or you could just look at which bonuses produce the most sales. Upgrades, money back guarantees, and small kittens. Another thing, of course, is the classic call to action, or the buy now, or a reason to act now. So you have to list to yourself what could motivate them to take advantage of your offer now. What would they miss if they didn't? Why would they kick themselves tomorrow if they missed your offer? But obviously don't do those things and say it's only available today, then they come back the next day and it's still available. And if you're giving a scarcity, which is obviously another thing that works well, it's got to be, you've got to give them a believable reason, because sometimes, and it's got to be absolutely true, because sometimes let's say you've lowered the price dramatically, people tend to get suspicious unless you give them a real, believable, true reason as to why you're doing that. Now, how many here use storytelling in your sales copy? Yeah, good. And so you know how much more effective it is. Because people don't respond well to just long lists of facts. statements of cold, boring statements of facts. But people love to read stories, if they're good stories, and if they're compelling stories. He just said that. And that. Yeah, so you can look at, find, and you can test these on people, survey again, test the stories, find a story that relates to your product and how it relates to them and their problems, and is really compelling and really interesting. Yeah, stories resonate and help others relate to us. So you paint a scene or tell a story that makes the product's benefits jump off the screen. So instead of listing a bunch of benefits, your story in the narrative, they'll see the benefits. This is often mentioned in copywriting as a classic. It's a 28-year-old ad that has been run over and over and over again and has generated nearly $1 billion in subscriptions. And it's based on this principle of a story. And it's basically called Day of Decision, and it just describes how on a particular day, X years back, one guy read a subscription offer for the Wall Street Journal and didn't do anything. The other guy read it and did do it, and started subscribing and started getting information on how his life completely changed, and he became a multi-billionaire or whatever happened. And just that simple story, like I say, has generated nearly $1 billion in subscriptions. It's one of the classics of copywriting.
How does the story, which is a lot of copy, jive with what you said earlier about having more visual versus copy?
Because the trick is to make it not a lot of copy, and it is possible. But the other thing is that as you're writing it, you look at any point where they could step off, you cut that out. You keep it so that whatever you write, they have to read the next sentence because of how you cliffhang the one before.
In my industry, one of the lines is that stories sell, facts tell. And so what I'm thinking of doing, I had a blog that was before, and it was a story about my husband, and it had so much following. Can I take that back out and start it over again on my new word blog thing that Doug made for me?
Yeah, sure. Just don't have the words exactly the same.
Okay.
Because of duplicate content.
Can't copy myself.
If you're an established author and you've done all your authorship
not that
markup.
established.
No, when I say established author, I mean established by Google by having done your authorship markup. So that Google recognizes you as an author and puts your picture next to your articles in the search engines and stuff like that. They're a little bit more lenient in that area, but ideally they don't like to see the same copy.
Is it good to become a recognized author?
Yeah, if you're writing articles or blogs, it's really vital. In fact, the Tampa Bay Computer Society has a class, I think it's just like a one-time class, or a one-evening class, on the subject of authorship markup, and it's really, really good, because you can be writing all this great stuff, and if Google doesn't recognize you as an author, you're wasting your time.
You're making comments about political officials, so you're taking their quotes, which could be upwards of a paragraph, and then doing your own commentary on what they said. Is it okay to quote them, put that in quotes?
Yeah, that comes under fair use, and yeah.
1 or 2 paragraphs is generally the accepted amount.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, the article you're quoting is 1 or 2 paragraphs.
But then you're doing your own commentary on what they said.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the copy, you're telling a story. People remember stories much better than they will a list of facts and promises. You can tell the story of how the product was made, if it's really fascinating and interesting, how it helps someone from rags to riches. If you can put the reader in the shoes of the main character, it's even stronger. Yeah, as we covered before, you want to make an emotional appeal, not a logical one. So your ad copy should dramatize the feeling your customers get while enjoying the benefits provided to your product or service, and you get them emotionally involved so they want to start enjoying those benefits immediately. Use words and pictures and real-life stories to draw readers into your message. It's actually a lot more fun to write stories than it is to write traditional other kinds of copy. And it's also a lot more interesting to the reader. So here's some qualities of a good story. The hook. The beginning of the story grabs the reader's attention and inspires him or her to read on. So what might be an example of something that would inspire someone to read on beyond?
You say, you won't believe what happened to me yesterday.
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Mystery writers put who killed whom right in the very first sentence.
Right? Yeah, questions, of course, are great, as you guys have both shown. Yeah, and that's the thing that I covered before. Every sentence must lead them to want to read the next sentence. And that also covers what you were talking about in terms of why it doesn't have to be hugely long. It can be quite short, so long as they're pulled, compelled through the story, sentence by sentence. In fact, what people very often do is they'll write the story, and it'll be this long, and then they'll go through it, and by the time they're finished, it's this long, which is a good thing. Yeah, here we go, the emotion.
Sometimes it's not what they actually put, it's the curiosity of what I'm interested in learning.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, curiosity is a great, great, great tool.
Did you have a slide on images specifically?
Did I have a slide?
Yes, I did, because you only briefly mentioned it. One of the things, like for example, when I do go online and I buy things, I'm very specific on what I'm looking for. For example, when I recently was looking for something to inflate tires, but I have a motorcycle, so I don't have like a 12-volt I can plug into a car. So I'm looking at all these pictures and they're hiding the cords because it's like, oh, we don't want to show the cords, they're messy. How long is the cord? Is it for a car? Is it for, I can plug it into a wall socket? That's important.
Absolutely.
So, you might have one image where it's all nice and clean, but if you can't see all those other things, having multiple images. You have a book, for example, right? I'm buying a book. Is it an author I'm not familiar with, so I might, get a soft cover. Is it an author I'm wow about? I want this hardcover really bad, Those are the kind of details that
Absolutely.
if you don't understand the need and use for your own product, why are you selling it?
Right, and that's where market research again comes in, because by the time you finish your market research, you really do understand what they need and what they're looking for. But you're absolutely right, I do the same thing. I'm always looking at the picture and going, well, does it do this? What's around the back?
I had taken a journalism class once, and what they were saying is you write the whole story, and then take the last paragraph and put it at the top, because usually people wait to the end to tell what's important.
Yeah, getting to the point. I mean, that's such a mantra for blog posts, is that people spend half the post setting the story up, by which time they've lost their reader.
Right.
Yeah, get to the point. Interesting characters whose flaws make them seem all the more real and intriguing work very well. Challenges and obstacles are other areas where the story shows how somebody faced tough obstacles and setbacks and overcame them by using your product.
Well, so mine was like a continuing saga of going through, surgery and the processes, and I had people, what's the next day? What's the next story? I wasn't using it for selling at all. I was just doing it to vent or whatever. Would I want to put in there clickable links for them to find out what he used or what I added or what helped or whatever?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing is about all this stuff is these are theories that work for a lot of people in certain circumstances. And the concept of split testing or A/B testing, it's, I highly encourage you to try something, and if it works, great. If it doesn't, modify it and see which works best. And because, like I say, these concepts work really well, but you might have missed something, or you might have got something that maybe alienated a certain percentage of your readers. And so there's a lot of testing that goes on. So just a quick summary is keyword research, which for me, I mean, keyword research is, no matter what I'm doing on the web, I do that first, because that gives me the underlying, the ingredients for the cake, I guess. Then social media research to find the hot buttons. Writing copies of story utilizing the hot buttons, and A/B split testing.
Which one of those can you outsource?
Actually, all of them. Well, writing copy, it's great if it's from you personally, because it'll come from your heart, or from the heart of whoever experienced the story. The social media research, I was able to outsource all of that, except the tabulation, just because I was kind of experienced in being able to spot what was similar.
Because the keyword research is very important, and you want to make sure you got a good outsource.
Yeah.
Fine.
Again, well, I'll tell you what I do for keyword research, because I used to use tools like Market Samurai, where it would tell me how relevant the keyword was and how many searches there were and how much competition there was. But if I wanted to figure out how strong the competition was on page 1, I had to look at this chart, and for every single keyword, I had to analyze 12 different factors, the ratios between these 12 different factors. And if I was looking through 5,000 keywords, which I commonly do, that takes forever. And so then I found Traffic Travis, which made it a lot simpler because it did the analysis. However, I found from experience that their idea of what was an easy keyword wasn't necessarily true. But it did give me a key piece of information that I needed in terms of being able to predict how long it would take me to get to page 1 of Google. But even so, doing that for every single keyword, doing the research, then doing Travis, again took forever. So I ended up basically buying a monthly service where the software does that all for me automatically. And I have 3 computers at home, and they're running constantly, researching 1,000 keywords at a time. And each one of them takes about 10 hours to do that. But,
is it Keyword Advantage or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You use that?
I have used it. There's some new plugin I saw the other day called Keyword Winner. Have you seen that? It's a WordPress plugin. So anyway.
What's it do?
It does a real simple, easy way of finding niche keywords.
Does it really show you the strength of the competition in the way that Keyword Advantage does?
It does. Oh no, not the way keyword. Oh, it does. It has the colors red, green, and yellow.
Yeah.
Keyword Winner.
Now, one thing about these.
8 minutes.
Back is waving fingers at me. Pardon?
8 minutes.
Oh, I'm pretty much done, apart from questions and answers. But one of the important things about all that software is I found that if I rely on what it thinks is a hot keyword by color, forget it. I have to use my own judgment, because I'll look at something and way, no, this, that's, no. So I always do a manual evaluation after the computers have done all the hard work.
It's an A.
Yeah, exactly.
It narrows it down for you.
So I have used the Google keyword, and my problem is it never seems to be the right keyword. So I'll look up personal development, then I'll look up games or play. And if I look up games, it'll either be games like chess and Monopoly, or it'll be game design. And even though I love game design, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. It's more personal, putting games and game mechanics into your everyday life.
Okay.
And so I've only been able to find like 3 websites related to it. And so I know there's something out there, but every time I try to do keywords, I can't really find
Well,
it.
you have to narrow down, I mean, to terms like you just did, games, mechanics, in personal life, or something similar. You have to use phrases that are relevant to what you're looking for.
What you
So
can also
say-
do, not to interrupt you, something a little bit
I'll
more
survive it.
helpful is search engines have operators, and what an operator is quotes and dashes are my favorite. If you're looking for a red tree, well, if you just type in red tree, any page where the word red is over here and tree is over here,
Right.
but they're not together.
Right.
You stick them in a quote, and boom, you're only going to get pages with red tree. Now, if you're looking for a red tree, but you keep getting pages with hippies on them, you do quote red tree minus hippies.
Well, I see.
Yeah. And the
Okay.
quote thing is exactly the same as the phrase button in Google Keyword Tool.
Okay, I'll try that.
In terms of what I recommend most, in terms of finding out about more hot buttons, if you want to do that, is this book I found on Amazon called Hot Button Marketing, Push the Emotional Buttons to Get People to Buy. And a quick link to it is bestsecrets.org/hot button. And of all the books I've read on the subject, this one really is the best. It really nails it. And any other questions? Because that's basically what we're covering today.
That was a lot.
We still have some time, and Tony, I think, would be very glad to answer questions on the topic that he covered. And also, Tony is a very, very knowledgeable on membership sites. If anybody has any questions on membership sites or is thinking about putting one up, he can certainly address that and keyword research, etc.
Yeah, a quick thing on membership sites. My biggest membership site had 1.3 million members.
Oh, wow.
And was getting like 1.5 billion hits a year. And it was like just amazing.
So Tony, come back and do that one again, will you?
Yeah.
It's up to you, Andrea. I'd be happy to.
Sure.
Yeah, I missed that.
I'm seeing a lot of sites that, like you said in the very beginning, have video as like the top part of their sales letter, and they're not using like a filming video. They're using, it's not even PowerPoint presentations. A lot of them now are using that hand on a whiteboard doing this.
Yeah, doodle scripts.
What do you think about that, and what's the best place to get that done?
Well, there are a number of different sites that do it very cheaply for you. I mean, very cheaply. And those things are really good because people just watch, what's happening and they keep watching. They're very effective.
That's what it's called, doodle scripts?
Doodle scripts or doodle videos or something.
Okay.
The word doodle is in it.
They used to be very expensive, but it's come
I
down.
know, now it's
Yeah.
not. It's not.
Doodle scripts. Has anybody used the powtown.com that I posted on the community page where you can, it's another website where you can create those kind of cartoons, but you're like building in blocks, so you're telling the story, and
I haven't.
powtown.com.
Tony, I have heard somebody has mentioned some software, like if you go to certain sites, it'll give you a tutorial, like maybe a 5 or 10 minute tutorial, and then it'll show the screen and then the mouse moving over and the click sound and the arrow. Do you know what the name of that software is?
Camtasia?
Camtasia?
Camtasia is one of them. There's a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
And there are Cam Studio is a free version. Camtasia is like $200 or $300, but Cam Studio is free.
Cam Studios, oh, okay.
Well, I appreciate I've learned a lot today, so thank you. And I just want to tell everybody, I got here a little late. I'm having a party at my house Saturday night. You're all invited. See me afterwards for details.
Oh, and if you know any musicians or artists, or even actually entrepreneurs, I give this seminar on teaching musicians how to use social media to be successful on the web. But I've had a lot of other artists come to it, because I've given it all over the world, literally. And I've had a lot of business people come to it and learn the basics of social media that they previously didn't know. So even though it's mainly for musicians, the basic techniques work for anybody. So if you know any musicians or any people.
And how can we get a hold of you? Do you have a web page? How can folks how can they get a hold of you?
Okay, to find out about the seminar or me, you can go to indietrack.com, which is INDIETRAK.com.
I'd like a correction, that's powtoon, T-O-O-N.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
A letter, what's a letter?
With respect to the videos and PowerPoint and other animations, do you think it's better to embed them into your own site or to link to, say, YouTube or Vimeo or something?
Well, what I prefer to do is have them appear in my site, but it be an embed from YouTube.
Okay.
I don't want them going off to YouTube.
Right.
but at the same time, I don't want to have the bandwidth unless I'm using Amazon